These days, there's no shortage of Airbnb or short-term rental host tips out there. But what we've done with our host report is compile a massive data set, responses from over 1,300 hosts around the globe. In doing so, I've been able to identify several different trends that I think anyone in the STR space should know, especially those just starting out. So to get things started, it's not what you think it is. In asking these 1,300 hosts, what's one thing you wish you'd known before starting in the short-term rental space? One of the main themes that continued to repeat was that hosts didn't really know what they were getting themselves into, and that this is very far from the passive income scheme that it's often sold as on Instagram and TikTok. This, for many people, is a full-time job, and that is not just a 9-to-5, but one that requires after-hours calls. Here are some real quotes from some of our hosts. It's not passive income, it's hard work. It's a 24/7 job. Now, this was mentioned word for word, exact same quote, by several different hosts in our survey. Another host said, "You can't just set it and forget it." Obviously, these are properties, right? They require a lot of upkeep, and I think that's something that people often overlook when they're looking to just find a new revenue stream and they've got some money to invest. Definitely something to consider. Another host said, "How all-encompassing it is. It becomes your life, which is both great and a challenge." I really like this quote because it talks about how they're getting purpose from this. This is not just something they threw some money at on the side and walked away from. It requires a lot of time and attention. However, it can be rewarding. After all, this is hospitality, right? This is about creating experiences for people, having those amazing moments that we all live for, those vacations, those trips with our partners. That is what being in the STR space really is all about. And I think the days of just throwing some extra income at a property and hoping to rent it out and generate, a couple $1,000s a month, those are long gone. Those hosts don't survive. It's the ones that pay attention to actually creating these experiences for those guests. Those are the ones that thrive, and I believe will continue to thrive. Now, don't just take my word for it. Going back to our study, 14% of the hosts surveyed spent more than 20 hours a week managing their guests, and about 25% spent 6 to 20 hours. So again, this is not a side hustle. This can very quickly become a full-time job, but it doesn't have to if you have the right tools in place. The second theme that continuously came up throughout the survey responses was that your team really is your business. Sadly, the business depends on having reliable, top quality cleaners who will stay and who are very difficult to find. And we see that echoed again with another host from Florida. "I wish I'd known how challenging finding good cleaners would be." And again, one from Cleveland, Ohio. "I think that finding and maintaining a consistent cleaning staff has been my biggest challenge." Now, this might come as a bit of surprise because when we think about hospitality, we're not necessarily thinking about cleaning right away. But of course, if you walk into a property and it's not cleaned properly, as a guest, that's a big strike. Now put yourself in the host's shoes. If you're a host trying to manage cleaning on your own, even with just one property, that is going to take a significant amount of time. Imagine you're booking your place 3-4 days a week, which ideally you'd want to be renting it out more than that. That can easily turn into 20-25 hours a week of work or more, and that's for partial occupancy. When considering starting out an STR or looking to optimize your short-term rentals, the first place you should look to start is having a reliable cleaning and maintenance team. These are the people that keep your property running and running well. In fact, in our host survey, cleaning and maintenance was the #1 operational challenge in the entire survey, and 245 of our hosts flagged it. If you're looking for some tips on how to handle cleaning at your STR, look no further than our STR cleaning guide. Okay, moving on to our third theme in the host report. When asking hosts what's something they wish they'd known before starting their short-term rental, another thing that kept coming up was that the systems matter more than the actual property. So you might have the best villa in Malibu, but if you don't have the right systems in place, things are just not going to run smoothly. One host said, "I wish I'd known to use a property management system from the beginning. We started using one 4 years in. Can you imagine the amount of late nights they spent trying to juggle properties without just implementing a simple property management system, which don't even have to be very costly?" TouchStay partners with several of them. Another host says, "I wish I started using automated messaging sooner, and that I didn't need to spend time personalizing every thanks for booking message immediately." This very use case was the fuel behind our automated messaging system within the TouchStay app. Another host said, "I wish I'd had a reliable tech stack at the start." Once again, I think a lot of hosts jump into this thinking, okay, I've got some extra money saved, I'm gonna purchase a property, I'm gonna start generating that passive income, and I'll figure out the tools along the way. And while it is astronomically important to have that cleaning and maintenance team in place before you welcome your first guest, it is just as important and so much more accessible to have a tech stack in place to help you from day one. Hospitality will always be a human business, and it thrives off of those human interactions and human experiences. But these days, there are tech tools in place to assist in these processes and just make everything run a lot smoother, so that instead of spending hours on tedious tasks like crafting cookie cutter thank you messages, you can actually put your effort into creating lasting experiences. TouchStay does this better than any tool I've seen out there. In fact, 92% of TouchStay users say that they have saved hours a week on guest communications alone. Additionally, a TouchStay guidebook is actually a passive revenue source. By offering upsells to your guests within the TouchStay store, you can generate revenue from simple things like early check-in, late checkout, extra cleaning services, a charcuterie board. All of these are super easy to offer, and not only do they generate extra revenue for you as a host, but they offer a better experience as a guest. They give you more options. I mean, who wants to wait till 4 p.m. to check in? In conducting our survey, we found that almost every experienced host echoed the same desire to have built these systems and had them in place before scaling their listings. Because once you're managing 3, 5, 10 properties manually, things can quickly get out of control. So start from the beginning, have those systems in place, and that will allow your operations to grow. One of the most interesting statistics from this section is that 2/3 of our respondents have a direct booking site, while only about 1 in 5 actually get most of their bookings from it, which again echoes the importance of establishing systems and learning how to use them from day one. Having the tool isn't the same as having a proper system in place. So establish these tools and learn to use them before you try to scale your listings. And look, I'll be honest here, we got a few responses completely unprompted that directly listed TouchStay as a solution. When asked what they wish they'd known before beginning an STR, several hosts said things like, "I wish I'd known the existence of guides like TouchStay." Another one said, "Ditch the agents, self-publicize, and use TouchStay." Because at the end of the day, these big booking sites are charging a massive commission, and being able to have direct bookings gives you more revenue and ultimately more control of the guest experience. Don't be beholden to the big guys, do it your way. Another host said, "If I had known how much fun it is, I would have started earlier. I wish I had known about TouchStay earlier because I would have not printed and translated and updated and reprinted so many freaking manuals." And I think that says everything. So who's ready to start an STR? We know that it can quickly become a 24/7 job. Cleaning is an absolute nightmare. And what is a tech stack? And hearing these responses, you might wonder why anyone ever gets started in the short-term rental space. But the truth is, with just a little bit of planning, a little bit of getting systems in place, and a couple of simple, very easy to use tools like TouchStay, can make this all super rewarding, and I think these responses show that best. One host said in response, "If I had known that I would love this so much, I would have started years earlier." Another one said, "I wish I'd known just how fun and rewarding owning a short-term rental property really can be." And a third said, "My guests are amazing, and it's so beautiful to see how happy in a home away from home they can be." And look, these aren't hosts who are totally oblivious to the challenges of hosting. Every one of these responses was taken from a host who also, within the same survey, mentioned things like regulations, cleaners, and pricing challenges, along with long hours. To sum things up, let's take this response from Julie in Adelaide. When asked what's one thing you'd wish you'd known before starting in the short-term rental space, she responded, "I wish I had known just how much of STR is really about guest experience and storytelling, not just managing a property. The bookings follow when you build a brand, create memorable stays, and lean into what makes your place unique. I spent a lot of energy in the beginning on logistics and platforms, but the biggest difference came from focusing on hospitality details, clear communication, and weaving in the story of the farm." In our survey sent to more than 1,300 hosts worldwide, one thing came through loud and clear. Running a short-term rental space, being a host, is all about hospitality. And while doing so can certainly be a challenge, by having the proper systems and tools in place, the whole thing can be immensely rewarding. Asking hosts what they wish they'd known before starting an STR was just a small part of the survey we sent out, and ultimately a small part of what went into our comprehensive host report. Be sure to check that out today. It's entirely free and packed with very useful tips. With that, my friends, happy hosting.